Welcome back. All eyes are now on the phone calls that happened between U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin over the Ukraine ceasefire deal proposed by Washington. Now, during this lengthy phone call, President Trump and President Putin agreed to an immediate pause in strikes against energy infrastructure in the Ukraine war. However, the wider agreement that the U.S. had sought was for a blanket 30-day truce in the war, which was accepted by Ukraine but has fallen short. Just after the phone call conversation, Trump took to his social media handle and briefed about the conversation, calling it as good and productive. Donald Trump here also mentioned the immediate ceasefire on all energy and infrastructure, saying that both countries will work quickly to have complete ceasefire. During an interview, the U.S. president denied having talks with Putin. But however, according to Kremlin, Russian President Putin agreed to the U.S. proposal of Russia and Ukraine to stop hitting at each other's energy infrastructure for 30 days and gave a corresponding order to the Russian military. However, the Russian president during the call also reiterated his demand for an end to foreign military and intel assistance to Ukraine. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Zelensky has issued statements on the phone calls between Trump and Putin, saying that Ukraine is prepared to support any proposals that lead to peace with Russia, but Kyiv must be a part of the negotiations.
Ми будемо підтримувати будь-які пропозиції, які ведуть до сталого і справедливого миру. Але для цього ми повинні розуміти, про що йдеться, які деталі. І дай Бог, щоб ми знали всі ці деталі, щоб партнери проговорили з нами, тому що в цій війні дві сторони – Росія і Україна. І без України домовлятись, мені здається, безрезультативно.
Well, Srinjoy is connected with us. Good morning, Srinjoy. On the part of not hitting each other's energy infrastructure seems to be a common point that both sides seems to have agreed. But what about the 30-day immediate ceasefire deal?
The infrastructure and energy issues are very important in a sense that if nothing else, it will lead to fewer civilian casualties. And that too is important, very important. Now that apart, there is this 30-day ceasefire, a general ceasefire along the border, a current border between Russia and Ukraine, which is basically a line of trenches from a very, very long line of trenches. It's almost like a 1914, 1915 kind of situation. Now, the point is that Russia is saying, as you rightly said, for the war to sort of get into a segue into a ceasefire, you need a stoppage of all military and intelligence support by the West to Ukraine. If that happens, Ukraine will argue, then the war ends, because without that Western support, Ukraine will not be able to sustain the warfare very long. So these are issues that have to be worked out. But even if there is a stoppage in these attacks on infrastructure and on energy, it will be at something else. There is this exchange of prisoners, 175 of them. Yes. That too is a positive.
But as also a step forward that has been taken as far as when it comes to the conflict that has been raging on for 3 years, and with the negotiations that have been taking place on part of the United States and its involvement itself, seems that two sides may agree on a ceasefire soon. Let's see what happens in the near future. Srinjoy, thank you very much for joining in. With that, we head into a short break. You're watching Times Now. Back with the latest headlines.